I said it last night. I'll say it again. I think Don Siegelman should be released from prison while awaiting an appeal. I have a number of serious concerns about the prosecution and the handling of this case by federal judge Mark Fuller. First, Siegelman's sentence. He was acquitted of 25 of 32 counts, yet he got 7 years and 4 months, much stiffer than one would expect. Second, after Siegelman's sentencing last summer, the former governor was immediately led away in shackles. No 45 days to report to prison, nothing. Third, no bail for Siegelman, even though an appeal for this controversial and nonviolent crime is pending. And fourth, that appeal continues to be delayed because the court hasn't produced a trial transcript, even though the case ended over a year and a half ago, and so that as a result, they can't file their appeal yet. Joining us now, former Arizona Attorney General Grant Woods, a Republican who has signed a letter, along with 51 other former state attorneys general, asking the House Judiciary Committee to investigate Siegelman's case. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. All right. In your letter, you all lay out a number of reasons why you think that this case needs to be investigated. What are the most important ones to you?
Boy, Dan, I think you can just, take your pick. There's so many of them. I think our main point is there's a million red flags on this case, and that doesn't necessarily mean they all come to something, but it means there's just too much out there for it not to be investigated. For context, you should remember that the governor, when he ran for re-election, went to bed having been declared by everybody the winner. He was awakened a few hours later and said, there was some foul up in a rural county, and some votes were switched, so now you lost. Now we flash forward a few years. He's going to try to get back into office, and they bring charges against him, and they go to trial. Pretty big deal. Charge a former governor who's getting ready to run again, and the prosecutor gives his opening argument, and the judge dismisses the case after the opening argument. That just doesn't happen. That's how bad that case was. And they still don't give up. So they go after him again and have now a different prosecutor. As you mentioned, the wife of one of the people who had been working for years politically against him. And then I think Mr. Kilborn has said that they were all assured that nothing was going to come of it, that the charges were no good.
Well, let me ask you
this. All of a sudden there's a top-to-bottom review and charges are brought.
Do you think that the judge is to blame here for some of the things that I laid out?
Well, I agree with everything you said. I think those are other red flags in the case. There's all sorts of questions about the judge here, but certainly let's just look at the end. I think that was a red flag to a lot of us. For example, in my state, while I was Attorney General, our governor went through a federal criminal trial. He was convicted. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison, not 7.5. And the judge there, though, did the right thing. He said, I'm going to let him out on an appeal bond, and because there's appealable issues here, and let's see what happens. So what did happen? His case was reversed by the Ninth Circuit. He was pardoned by President Clinton, and justice was served, I guess. So that's the way the system is supposed to work. What did this judge do? He denied the appeal bond. One thing you didn't mention is he didn't allow him to report. Every white-collar criminal, most people are allowed to come in 30 to 60 days later and report to prison. No, he took him off, hauled him off in manacles and in handcuffs in front of everybody, made a big show, and then he was hustled around prisons for 2 or 3 days before he was finally placed in a prison far away from his family. This whole thing just doesn't look right, and that's what we're saying. Somebody needs to look at it.
I got to ask you a question, though, because some critics of you and of others have said, you know what, this AG, this Republican who's out there, he was friends with Siegelman for a long time before that. What do you make of that?
Well, you know what? We've been friends with other people who have gone to jail, and frankly, we agreed that they should go to jail. Because if somebody misuses the public trust, then they need to go to prison. We all agree with that. And we're not passing judgment on the Siegelman case. What we're saying is every American deserves a fair shot.
And I think that's crucial.
I think
that's crucial, what you just said.
Yeah, it is crucial.
And because I'm not saying...
Well, here's the thing, Dan.
I'm not saying it either. I'm not saying he should be found not guilty. What I'm saying is that the system has to work, that he's got to be released in the meantime while they figure all this out, figure out whether it was politically motivated. All right. Grant Woods, look, I think that your letter, along with the other 51, has had a big impact here, and I thank you very much for taking the time to come on the program.